Honestly, this is just kind of a sparse first class cabin. I mean, it's big, but in terms of like finishing touches and soft touches, I'd rate it a 6 out of 10. Hey guys, it's Sarah and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So it has officially been a year and a half, that's right, 18 months since COVID really threw a spanner in our lives, especially in terms of long haul travel, whether for work or for pleasure, and especially here in China, where it's extra difficult to get in and out of the country due to all sorts of new work, visa, permit requirements, very limited flights, and all these like negative COVID test requirements. I mean, anyway, so I'm about to embark on my first international flight outside of China. And guess what? It is $21,000. In fact, to be precise, it is 21,765.10 cents Singaporean dollars, which translated into US dollars is 60,100 US dollars. Let's check it out. Hello guys, from Shanghai Pudong International Airport. I am taking my first international trip out of China since COVID hit, and boy is it quiet over here. It's like all boarded up. Well, let's see, there are some shops, but also very quiet. Feels a bit like a ghost town. Really different from America and Europe that's all opening up right now. So I'm gonna find China Eastern because I'm gonna check in for my flight. I'm 3 hours early just in case, because now traveling in COVID times, all these things happen where it's like you can't even control. So my dad's like, make sure you prepare ample time. Actually, what's really interesting is that flights from China to Australia now, they're not even selling economy. They're only selling business class and first class, and business class actually fully booked. So I'm flying first. Let's check it out. 所以那个人数限制是多少呢？ So I just asked and they said that, yeah, that's right. They confirmed, because actually, I don't know, for some reason, this is a China Eastern check-in counter, but I can't check in because it's not first. But they do not sell economy tickets, and they sell business, but business is actually limited. I guess they don't want it full, maybe because of COVID reasons, although honestly, everybody leaving China is probably COVID free. But there is apparently a 750 person a day cap into Sydney. So no more than 750 people a day can fly in, which is probably why all of the airlines have now limited their passengers. Hi, 一等舱是这边吗？去哪里？上舱位置不多，多几个呢？一半有吗？
一半都没到啊。
Oh, so even less than 50%, less than 50% of seats available. 原因是什么呢？
这个具体不清楚，手袋已经带好。
哦 ，No reason why. 那头等舱有几个座位？
差不多一半。
一半. Okay, so it doesn't matter if it's first or business, only half of the seats are being sold. Oh, 所以经济舱你们都不卖？对，限制销售。So apparently, I just asked my counter lady, who's super sweet, and she told me that first class, it has a total of 6 seats, but they only sold 3 because it's restricted. And then business class, there's a total, I think there are like something like 20 seats in business class, but they only sold 8. So that means 8 plus 3, a total of 11 customers on this Boeing 777, which is insane, and economy is going to be totally empty. I don't even know how these guys make money. I guess maybe through selling first class and business class. But that's crazy. I mean, this will be the first time that I've flown on a plane that has like such low capacity, but I guess we will literally have the plane all to ourselves. All the documents that need to be prepared. There are actually many documents. So on every international flight that we board, as probably in the rest of the world, you need to have a negative PCR test, which I got. And in China now, instead of going to a clinic or hospital, which is super annoying, it takes a lot out of your time, they have these what's called 上门服务, which means that they come up to your apartment, and it's 500 RMB or something like that, which is divide that by 6, that's like $60 US, and they come up to your house, they do the throat thing, super uncomfortable, I'm sure everybody's done it by now. You cough a little bit and then they disappear, and then the next day by 9 a.m. they have your report, which you print out, and then, you know, I printed out and I brought it over to show them, which I have to show them at the check-in along with my visa, and also along with my something called an ATV, which is my Australian Travel Declaration form, and like letter of this and letter of that, and it's just been quite something. But I have to say, I'm super pumped to go on my first international trip outside of China since COVID. Oh, 那这个书先拿下来。And now what we're waiting for is that basically they need to, in addition to all the documents that I had ready, they also have to, they're contacting Sydney to double check, I guess. So there's quite a lot of hoops to jump through, but I'm sure it's going to be worth it.
A few moments later.
Okay, so for the last 10 minutes, we were waiting for Sydney to confirm to China Eastern that I can indeed board the flight. So I was waiting for a little bit, and apparently not all the passengers had to do that, but I think because the last time I was in Australia was over 10 years ago and I used a different passport. So it is always a little unnerving because traveling in times of COVID, you just never know what might happen. I was on tenterhooks for about 10 minutes, and then they called me over and said everything's gone through. So now I've put my suitcases on and getting ready to board. So super interesting intel that I'm getting from my check-in counter lady, who's really helpful. Apparently, pre-COVID, they used to have 100 international flights a day on China Eastern alone, which in my opinion is the best airline in China. If you take any local airline, make sure it's China Eastern, their planes are the best. And now, after COVID, there's less, she said count on less than 5 fingers. So it's like 4 or 5 international flights a day. And actually half of them go to Hong Kong and Taiwan. And for example, for America, there's 1 flight a week. Australia, 1 flight a week. UK, no flights. Europe, yeah, 1 flight a week or 2 a week. New Zealand, interestingly, has 1 flight a week. So I asked them if they're really chill these days, and they said, well, they've also cut down on stuff. So it's not super chill, but it's definitely more chill than before. So now I have my ticket and I've gone through, it's crazy, it's so eerie. I mean, I've never seen Pudong Airport International Terminal this empty. It's insane. Usually this is packed, and even, you know, the VIP and first class line would still have people. It's quite an out-of-body experience. Almost reminds me of when I went through Hong Kong International Airport, also very eerie. And just now I tried to find some dinner outside and there was only a Subway that was open. So I ate a little chocolate chip cookie, and now I'm gonna go through and let's see if there's anything open on this side. So I just went through security, and I mean, there's like nobody going through security. I mean, there's a lone traveler here and there. I guess there's the 10 other people in addition to me who were on my flight, and they're probably sitting in the lounge. So let's go find them because I'm feeling kind of lonely in this airport. Huge, big airport, and it's just me. So I want to go find some people. Let's find out where they are. So we're in the China Eastern Lounge. This really cute guy checked me in, and apparently that way is first class and that way is business class. Let's go check out both. Okay, so let's take a look at business class. There's probably more people here. I know the first class will really just have like 2 other people, but let's check it out. So this is what first class in Shanghai looks like at the International Airport Lounge. And in fact, we can see, this is my flight, Sydney, and these are all the other flights today. So it's literally on one hat, Taipei, Tokyo. Interesting that Tokyo has 2 flights, Manila and Seoul. All right, and wow. All right, and now this is the first class lounge. Slightly nicer. Even more empty. We can see that there are a few nicer sofas. First class lounge is pretty big, actually. let's see what food they have over here. There was nothing super appetizing in business class. And just now there were 2 people in business class, and now in first class there's no people. It's interesting because I know that all 11 of us on this one Boeing 777 are gonna land in Sydney, and all of us are gonna quarantine. So some people had huge suitcases. I just had, one big suitcase, one medium suitcase. And then there was one guy who was like head to toe Louis Vuitton, and he had no check-in, just one small carry-on. I guess that's the difference between men and women. But yeah, this looks pretty snazzy, pretty much kind of similar, but they have a bar here that looks really nice. So I'm probably not going to drink anything, but I do want to see what food they have. So the food looks the same, some random fruits, random not super appetizing looking. Oh, apparently no shooting allowed, even though there's no other people, it's just me. Oh, but there's no food. Wow, seems like there was more food in business class than in first class. So anyway, I don't really like sitting in these lounges. It's like no windows and it's really claustrophobic. After doing 5 quarantines, I do get a little claustrophobic when there are no windows. And I'm about to go into my 6th quarantine when I enter into Sydney. And then when I come back to Shanghai, my 7th quarantine. So, and these are hotel quarantines that I'm talking about, by the way. No joke. And I hear that Sydney's quarantine is pretty much as strict as China's quarantine. Not as strict, but pretty much. Like, you can't choose your quarantine hotel and that kind of stuff. Yep. So after I just complained to the lady in the lounge that there is no 人气, which means no people energy in any of the lounges, she said, oh yes, because your gate is boarding, your plane is boarding, and everybody's gone over to the gate. And I was like, okay, so this is what my gate looks like. There's literally 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, it's under 10 people here at the gate. And by the way, I mean, these tickets are pretty pricey. Business class, I think, was about 12,000 US, and then first class is even more. So everybody's wearing a mask. I obviously have a mask too. Some people are wearing the visors with like the glass thing. Honestly, in China, you're really safe. Like nobody's gonna have COVID really on the plane going over there. It's really just about touching down in Sydney that we have to be careful of, because once you're over there, then obviously there are many more cases. Check this out, guys. This is kind of crazy. Crazy. Shanghai Pudong International Airport is like 0 people. There's more staff than passengers. So, boarding for Sydney, a very quick boarding process. This is about everybody that's going. And there's this cute little guy who's going around squirting disinfectant on everybody. So just now I did ask them, I was like, oh, if there's only 11 people on the flight, how do you guys make money? This is a big plane. And they say, well, we make just a little bit. But they did say that they get a lot of subsidies from the government to help them out, which makes sense. So a lot of the big airlines, Air China, China Eastern, etc., they're all what's called SOEs in China, state-owned enterprises. So yeah, they're basically, majority government-owned, and so they're government-supported. Tough times like these, Chinese government is like a parent. They take care of their kids. Okay, guys, are we ready to board? My first international flight outside of China since COVID-19. Here's our beauty, our Boeing 777. Here we come. So boarding took all of like 2 minutes. This lady was really helpful and helped me take some pictures. And now I'm gonna board my flight.
您坐哪个位置看一下吗？2排。哦，好，这边请。您稍等一下。啊，在这边。林女士是吗？
喝。
先忙，我待会儿再过来跟你介绍一下。
好的，谢谢啊。
小姐不要拍我。
哦，好。All right, so settling down into my seat. There's 3 people in my cabin. It's very roomy, very spacious. This is a 777, Boeing 777. 3 little windows. It is 8 p.m. Shanghai is 3 hours behind Sydney. It's a 10-hour flight, and then I'm going to be landing in the morning Sydney time. So I love these kind of overnight flights because basically you get on, you watch a movie, make an ambient, help myself, knock myself out, sleep, wake up, breakfast, and ta-da, land. So I'm going to be landing tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. and then I go through this quarantine process. So let's check out my seat. There's some Perrier Jouet I see over there. And then, so, all right. Key things. This is the single most important thing. It's kind of hard to do this with one hand. Ta-da! So slippers, single most important thing for Chinese travelers. For those of you who follow my Instagram and have seen me on the train in first class, I also give out. These are really nice. I mean, they're so like, oh, they're so soft. Soft, soft, soft. Now, let's see what else. Oh, okay, there's a makeup bag. And I'm really curious to see what kind of makeup materials they have in this bag. Okay, looks very kind of disappointing for first class. You think they'd at least have like L'Occitane or something. Oh well. I guess this thing. So this does this. And then this does that. And then there's kind of like this polyester mint. But it is very wide. 2 little lights and you know, some positions. USB, right, blah blah blah, and I could play, and then there's some water here. Honestly, this is just kind of a sparse first class cabin. I mean, it's big, but in terms of like finishing touches and soft touches, I'd rate it a 6 out of 10. Space wise, I'd give it like an 8.5 out of 10, because there's just a lot of space. But finishing touches, little like, you know, what should be L'Occitane soaps and creams. Don't see any of those things. Guys, we touched down in Sydney. We're pulling right up to the station. This is interesting. Literally all of the air hostesses changed into hazmat suits. Apparently, this plane basically flies empty to Sydney, but when it comes back, it's full, and they literally do a turnaround immediately. People in Sydney board, and it's mostly Chinese, Asian-looking people, and it's a full flight back to Shanghai. And obviously, because there are more cases in Australia than in China, all the air hostesses are immediately hazmat suited up to make sure that they're protected. So yeah, they're nervous about getting COVID too. According to the requirement of the Australian government, the whole plane has to be disinfected. So they're going around spraying like disinfectant stuff before they can open up the doors and we can get off.
辛苦了，拜拜。拜拜。行李别忘了啊。好，拜拜。
So we spent about 20 minutes on the plane as they disinfected it, and now we getting off the plane, all 11 of us. Beautiful day in Sydney, and now we are heading to immigration. And apparently, each day in Sydney, there are only 10 passenger flights a day compared to above 100 a day that they used to receive before. So there are 5 in the morning, another 5 at night. I mean, it's much quieter than it used to be. Well, that was definitely the quickest. Oh, sorry.
Items left unattended at the airport will be treated as a security risk and may be disposed of.
This is like our only time. Unless you got back here, nav early. This is
So just went through the immigration security process, which was so quick. Sydney Airport, I mean, last time I came to Sydney was like 11 years ago, but this is definitely the emptiest I've ever seen it. This is our quarantine bus. Hopped off, really smooth process, really good looking guys in army outfits who were so gentlemanly in helping us with all of our suitcases. Look at that. And now we're going up into a really nice coach bus to go to our quarantine hotel. Check it out. These buses are way nicer than ones in China. Checking into my quarantine hotel. It's gonna be home for the next 14 days. American Suites, super friendly. It's been an amazing experience, really flawless. The airport was like really nice and everybody's really good looking. And both of you included, just these two. Thank you so much.
I'll bring your bag through it, come through.
Okay, thanks.
Right up to reception and I'll take you in.
Okay. Alrighty. 27. Woo. My retreat for the next 14 days.
That's it.
How long have you been working as a...
I've only been here for a couple of weeks, so I'm gonna go back to my squadron soon. But it's alright. Very different work to what we're used to. So
Yeah. What do you usually... Air Force?
I'm an aircraft mechanic.
Oh wow, that's
So,
cool.
Yeah, they've just got us in here doing small jobs and stuff just to share the load.
Yeah.
It's just to like relieve the police officers really.
When is Sydney opening up?
Meant to be the 1st of November, so meant to be sooner than later.
So does that mean that I don't have to quarantine on the 1st of November?
And
Oops,
not that
right.
person to ask. I'm yes or no. Perfect.
Thank you. Oh.
Yeah.
Right, you wanna jump in there?
All right. Oh, spacious room. This is great. All right, so let's see what we have here. Wow, American Suites. A spacious and cozy little place, and I have deliveries already from my team here. Ooh, a reed diffuser, great. Some flowers, pretty, pretty. Milk, yes. Full cream pure milk, my favorite. It's so amazing to be back in Sydney. People are so warm and so welcoming here. What really struck me was when us 10 Chinese passengers got off of our China Eastern flight and the local Australian airport staff were welcoming us in Mandarin. They had learned how to say the critical ones, which I'm sure you guys all know too. Ni hao, hello, and xie xie, thank you. Really, really sweet. I was just thinking about the last time I came to Australia. I actually was on my way to Fiji. This is even before I went to Harvard Business School. It was like over 10 years ago. I stopped over in Sydney. That was many moons ago, but I remember as a little girl, me and my parents would come to Australia very frequently for vacation. And this is when I was maybe like 7 or 8 or 9 years old. We would do what city people love to do, which is farm stays. And we would find farms in Brisbane, along the coast, in Australia or in New Zealand, because me and my dad grew up horse riding. I love to ride. And it was the most amazing experience. We'd be picking up eggs laid by the hens, taking them back to the farmer's wife who would make it into breakfast for us. We would ride every day, learned how to herd cattle, and just all the expansive countryside. I mean, Australia is really such a beautiful country. And I remember going to Dunk Island, Great Barrier Reef, although I hear in maybe just 20, 30 years that all might turn to sludge due to global warming. Rise in temperatures of the sea. You know, it's good to be back here. I'm going to be here for a few months. It's going to be my home for a few months. just want to talk a little bit about my flight experience over from Shanghai. Very bare bones. So, I mean, you could see the blanket. My goodness, it was like paper towel was so thin. And they explained that they didn't give all the usual sort of, soft touches and little luxuries that usually do because it's COVID time. So it's literally operating on bare bones. It's also very intriguing for us Chinese to see how Australia has been battling COVID, because obviously Australia has been considered sort of, low risk. They handled it very well. Very draconian measures. I mean, they've been through like 6 or 7 full-on lockdowns, especially in Melbourne where there were more cases, and there's no state-to-state travel in Australia. So people in Melbourne and Sydney, they haven't been able to cross the state borders to see each other, to see relatives, or to see friends. And they've spent a large chunk of the last, year and a half, literally in a very strict lockdown. Only one family member is allowed to go and buy like the daily necessities. You're not even allowed to go visit friends. No restaurants, no hair salons, all sorts of things. So very strict lockdown. People were protesting, people were getting depressed. And for a, so-called democratic country that's like all about, liberal, free, blah, blah, blah values, it's really fascinating to watch them be so draconian. But I think it also says something now that the Australian government has decided to change its policy and just properly open up. So that was my experience flying first class from Shanghai to Sydney, from one very strict country on COVID to another very strict country on COVID, but that's now opening up. So how is COVID where you are? Has it opened up or not? Are you wearing masks? Are you traveling? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you next time. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I'll be posting a new video each week who have tips and tricks that I think will help all of us lead a better life.